morning, friends and enemies. We are back to recap every single snap and every single play and every single dagger to the heart of Week 2's NFL Sunday slate, starting on Thursday Night Football. But we do this every single Monday afternoon between noon and 1 p.m. Eastern Time, so make sure you are subscribed to the channel. A lot of impactful injuries this week. Week 1 was filled with a lot of disappointing games. Week 2, I feel like the league scoring was up pretty tremendously. I know across most of my fantasy leagues, the average score went up from like 100 points to 130, 140, 160. There were some fireworks for sure. We had a lot of the big-time wide receivers bounce back, Jamarr and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and definitely not BTJ, but there's some dudes who played like dudes in Week 2, and we're going to go through all of them. Of course, we're going to cover all the injuries across the way. We're going to look at snap counts, routes run, all that stuff, and anything that I rewatched the games of that I felt are useful for y'all for fantasy football. Again, every Monday we do this, so subscribe to the channel. If you are new here, how you down? Let's get into Thursday Night Football. Let me pin my ass to the screen. And bang, will throw me in a circle. The Green Bay Packers, 2-0, 27-18 over the Washington Commanders. And I like Week 2 because we got all of like the crazy takes out of the way in Week 1, and now we're starting to solidify, snap counts. We're starting to solidify like what people's roles actually are in respective offenses. We still have some work cut out for us because there were 2 major injuries in this game that will affect fantasy going forward. And, I won't cover every single player just because, I don't need to tell you. Jordan Love looked good. Jane Daniels is going to be fine with the floor. I will say the Packers look as elite as any team in the NFL. Packers, the Ravens, the Bills, they are the creme de la creme right now. The Packers are moving at just a different speed. They are in the backfield on every play. They are living in hell. They are making the quarterback live in hell here. So if you've got pieces of the Green Bay Packers, I feel pretty good about it right now. On the Washington side of things, Austin Eckler, rest in peace, tore his Achilles. He will be out for the remainder of the season, which obviously opens the door to more running back work. Obviously, they never got to get the running backs involved in this one because they were down pretty handedly, pretty quickly. Didn't get to have the running game, get a little bit of a spring forward here. What it does open up, of course, is touches for Ja'Cory Krosky-Moret. Now, in this game, he kind of jumped up to a 50% snap guy already, I think. Am I tripping? This is Week 1. This is Week 2. JCM is, okay, he's playing a quarter of the snaps, but this is going to jump up to probably around 50% of the snaps going forward. What is going to probably happen is they're going to use a guy like Jeremy McNichols in more of a passing down role. I would imagine Christopher Rodriguez also becomes an active member of the 53. What I don't think this really does for JCM, obviously it raises the floor because if you're playing more on base downs, like if you're playing on first and second down, you're just more likely to run more routes throughout the game. However, it's not going to turn him into like a featured back by any means. He's still a 7th-round rookie that probably has a lot to prove before he gets a giant workload. Didn't do much production-wise in this game, but again, the Packers are very rapidly becoming a stay-away defense. They're like a team that you don't really want to play a lot of fantasy players against, and we'll get more and more of that sample as the weeks go by. But that's what the feeling is right now for anyone playing against them, and that kind of bared its fruits in Week 1. So what I imagine is JCM will play the base downs. I imagine Jeremy McNichols will play in most passing situations. As you can see here, after Eckler left, he played the other basically 50% of the snaps in the 2-minute drills. The long down distance snaps were all Eckler until it was McNichols. So that's kind of the split I imagine going forward. I think we'll see JCM in and it's going to be game script dependent, obviously. I don't imagine Washington's going to be down in too many games, so it's not like we're going to see them having to play in comeback mode all the time. But for JCM, I think he'll likely be in the 40%, 45% snap range. I think Chris Rodriguez will maybe be in for 10%. McNichols will be in for the other 45, 50. So it's something in there. They're all kind of 38 to 45, depending on game script sort of thing. On the other side of the ball, we do have to talk about the Packers receivers because we had another big injury, which is a brutal break for the Jaden Reed owners here because he catches a beautiful touchdown pass in the corner, which got called back on holding, and he broke his collarbone on that play, and now he's going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks, which opens the door for a guy like Matthew Golden, a guy like Dontavian Wicks, because before it was just a fucking mess of 4 or 5 receivers kind of cycling in and out. I does think this condense the receiver room here, and Golden wasn't playing too much. And then as soon as Jaden Reed went out, he played 85% of the snaps for the remainder of the game. So I think we're just going to see by force a ton of Matthew Golden now. We had a bunch of big plays that could have happened for Golden. He had that first end zone kind of like post slant that Jordan Love just threw a little bit behind him. Trey Amos made a beautiful play on him to smack it down before he caught the touchdown. Could have connected on another deep ball. So really good days ahead, I think, for rookie Matthew Golden. Romeo Doubs just continues to run the most routes on this team. He's not a high upside player. He doesn't get a ton of volume. He's not making like huge splash plays. But you could absolutely do worse than Romeo Doubs, in the flex spot going forward, because this team is just going to have a ton of success on offense. They're going to be in red zone scoring opportunities. And I think Dontavian Wicks is a playmaker as well. As you can see in week 2, he had 30% of the team's air yards. His average depth of target was 20%, 27% target per out run rate. And I'd imagine with Jaden Reed out, like, he's going to play a bigger role in this offense. So it's kind of tough to decipher here, obviously. Like, I think all of them in maybe bad matchups are like shaky flex plays. I think in better matchups, you could definitely look at Golden and Dobbs, and Wicks probably still remains on the bottom of that tier. But the Jaden Reed injury definitely condenses things for this offense. And also just a quick reminder, this chart, like everything on here, snaps, targets, routes, all that kind of stuff, is via fantasylife.com. You can see their logo on the top left. I kind of maximize the screen. But fantasylife.com, they do the utilization report every week, and it is the best resource in fantasy football right now, bar none. And you can get a subscription to the website for like, I think $100 for the entire year. And if you use code BDGE to get on there, you'll get 20% off. The link is right down below in the subscription. Like, this is obviously an advertisement, but it's really not. Like, I'm putting my future children's name on this subscription. It is the best value in fantasy football right now. Subscription is amazing on fantasylife.com. Let's move to the Bengals and the Jaguars, and let's just get it out of the way. Joe Burrow will be competing for his 3rd Comeback Player of the Year award in 2026. He has a significant turf toe injury. He's going to be out a minimum of 3 months for all intents and purposes. He is going to be out for your fantasy season. Now, the trickle-down effect for this, it's actually insufferable. Like the way that people are like going to bat for Jake Browning as if this is like, oh, it's not that big of a yes, it's a huge fucking fall off from Joe Burrow, especially if you're a Jamar Chase owner. This is devastating. Higgins devastating. Like, of course you don't want fucking Jake Browning throwing your quarterbacks the ball. Can Jake Browning be a serviceable quarterback? Sure. Can he force feed targets? Sure. But the part that made Burrow and Chase so special is that they had the connection that Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams had. They had the connection that great quarterbacks and great wide receiver ones have when you don't need the practice reps together. You guys are just on the same wavelength at all times. You don't even need to look at each other to know that that person's going off script and you're going to be able to hit him. And the trust level you have is a 99th percentile trust level. Like Jake Browning, his arm is probably fine. It's probably, in the top percentile of backup quarterbacks, but there's the chemistry part of what Burrow and Chase had together that's just simply not going to live through Browning and Chase. So I have Jamar Chase in Your Idiot League Mates, which is my biggest league, my most important league. Took him 3rd overall in Superflex. During this game, I was like, fuck yeah, this is why I drafted him. I own him. This put a fucking dagger into my stomach. I'm not fucking happy about Jake Browning being the goddamn quarterback going forward. Like, everyone can bend over backwards and twist stats and be like, look what he just did in the second half. You're going to take a 1/4 fucking sample size of Jamar Chase and Browning and being like, it's okay. They're playing against the Jaguars. The Jaguars have got to run out against the Bengals and the Panthers. The easiest 2 fucking matchups you could start a season with. I'm pissed. I'm fucking pissed. Can't ever have anything nice in fantasy fucking football. Jamar Chase, 16 targets, 14 catches, 165 and a touchdown. And I tweeted this out. I don't even think I have fucking Twitter up right now. Yeah. We'll go through the numbies. I mean, I just ate this bacon, egg, and cheese, by the way, about 5 minutes ago, and I might throw up and have a heart attack on camera if I catch another fucking vibe like I just did with Joe Burrow. What did I tweet out? Okay, so here are Jamar Chase's splits with, wow, that was really bright and jarring, sorry. On the left side, in split with Jake Browning, out of split without Jake Browning. I get it. He had a great second half yesterday against the Jaguars' shitty-ass fucking secondary. But this is what you're getting from Jamar Chase going forward. Not to mention, this is the slate going forward. Their next 4 games, at Minnesota, at Denver, versus Detroit, and at Green Bay. Like, it's the woe. It's the woe. T. Higgins didn't fall off necessarily points-wise, but if I went back to look at this, I bet there's like 1 or 2 games that really spiked what he was doing. A 5-game sample size is small, so there's a drop-off, obviously. It's just Jake Browning, man. It's just not going to run as efficiently, and yes, it's a downgrade for Chase Brown as well, because one of the theses of Chase Brown is the fact that you're attached to an offense that's going to score 30 points per game, and you're the guy getting every opportunity and getting all the goal line carries there. So now they're going to have fewer goal line carries. So the way I'm looking at Jamar Chase is like, yeah, you have him, you start him every single week. Of course you do, because he's going to get a lot of screens. They use him in the slot a lot. He's going to get a lot of manufactured touches going forward. But the fact of the matter is, like, they're not going to score as many passing touchdowns. They're not going to have as many efficient drives as they would. And Jamar Chase is going to be like a borderline fringe wide receiver 1 going forward. So instead of being like a league-winning, needle-moving type of player, he is just another guy that's really good with a pretty bad quarterback. So that's my fucking piece about that. For Jacksonville. So here's the thing I want to say about Jacksonville. Like, the offense still very clearly looks clunky. And I think they do some great things. Like, I think their running game looks phenomenal between Etienne and Bashal Tutin. I think the screen game is so deadly inside the 10-yard line. Like, every time they run a screen within the 10-yard line, it ends up being a receiving touchdown. It's a pretty phenomenally run offense. That being said, do not overhype and overcomplicate the Jaguars' offensive pieces quite yet. Because like I said, they had the run out of the Carolina Panthers and the Cincinnati Bengals. If you allowed me to choose 2 defenses to start the year off of against, I don't think I would choose any differently. Like, those would be the 2 games that I would be like, that is how I get my team off to a fast start. So great that Etienne looks good. Great that Tutin looks good. I don't know what's happening with BTJ, but what I will say is, like, I'm not making a move for or against any Jaguars players until I see this offense kind of level itself out against a good team within the coming weeks, all right? So I don't get too high in your own supply. Don't get too low either, but I'm just saying, don't forget that. Like, we are in week 2. Things are starting to level out, but it's important to note when you're too high or too low, there's probably a reason in the first couple weeks for that being the case. But so it was the first game without Tank Bigsby, so we want to look at the usage between the Jaguars' backs. And Bashal Tutin legit looks like a dude. He looks very, very good and comfortable on the NFL field. Travis Etienne, unsurprisingly, 66% of the snaps, but Tutin up to 25%, and I think that will only continue to increase week over week over week. And when he's on the field, he's getting a ton of opportunities there. So, like, when he's playing, he's running routes, he's getting carries, he's involved in the screen game. Like, as you could see, 33% target per route run rate, incredibly high. So he's going to continue to get more and more involved in this offense, and I do think as they play defenses that are better, like, the offense can't strictly run through Travis Etienne. He's also a dude that we've seen kind of wind down towards the end of the season at points, so I don't want to get too high on it. The receiver room is, one, just fucking weird right now. Brian Thomas Jr., am I panicking? I mean, it sucks that you had to eat 2 weeks where he's not really doing much. I think you could, like, hem and haw your way to what the reasons are. Week 1, he wasn't getting catchable targets from Trevor Lawrence. Week 2, he had drops. He was hearing footsteps behind him, so he was, like, scared to catch balls over the middle. Miscommunications. I think there's been a lot of bad. Am I confident that he rights the wrong? Relatively. I'm interested in seeing what happens at wide receiver 2 going forward, because in this game, Travis Hunter started off as a full-time wide receiver, ended up playing 60% of the snaps here, on dropbacks at least. And then he ended up basically going full-time at cornerback for the second half. Now, there have been, like, a bunch of narratives pushed by people in fantasy that it was because the cornerback on Jacksonville, I think his name is Jarian Jones, got hurt, and that's why. He left for, like, a few snaps and then came back and played the remainder of the game. So that's not an actual true narrative that's going around right now. I went back and made sure I, like, found him on the fucking field afterwards, because that would be a big deal. If their starting left cornerback got hurt and they need Travis Hunter to become a full-time cornerback, then yes, that would be something where, like, oh, he's not going to run as many routes probably on offense. Remember, this is his second fucking game in the NFL. Things will get better, all right? And when I look at the offense, it feels like still very manufactured. Like, there's still something not clicking yet, in the sense that I love what Liam Cohen is calling. Like, I love the creativity he has. I love the run game. I love the screen game. There are things that, there are, like, really, really bad drops. Yami Brown had an unforgivable drop in the end zone on a beautiful pass from Trevor Lawrence. There are bad throws from Trevor Lawrence. There's just, like, a lot of really good and a lot of really bad going on. But from what I see from Liam Cohen's actual scheme, I'm encouraged. Again, intrigued about what's going to happen when they start playing against better defenses. So don't want to jump too far ahead. I will say with Travis Hunter playing on cornerback, that very well could have been like, yo, we're playing against the Bengals. They have two goats at wide receiver. We need you to try to lock one of them up right now, because the guy who did get hurt, Jarian Jones, he did end up seeing a significant decrease in snaps over the second half. He was still playing, but he might have got benched is really what it came down to. And I don't know how predictive that is moving forward when they're not playing against a team like Cincy, when they're playing against a team that has, one good wide receiver one, and then like their second best wide receivers, an average player type of thing. This might have been like a Cincinnati Bengals pure game plan where the Bengals were just ripping off big chunks on the first bunch of drives, and they're like, Hunt, get on Falcon defense. But BTJ, where he stands right now, still getting a ton of targets, 51% of the air yards in this one. Like, he's going to connect eventually. It's unfortunate. They're not really like scheming up passes for him. Whereas like Travis Hunter and the running backs are getting so many easy layup targets. It's not happening for Brian Thomas Jr. And that would be my one concern, is like, you would imagine the passing offense runs through Brian Thomas Jr. coming off of his rookie season. Like, you'd imagine, okay, we're getting a minimum 5 targets per game easy for this kid. Let him break free on screen passes. Let him try to run down the field. Like, he should probably be the dude getting those targets, but he's not right now. So don't want to over panic, because all the underlying metrics like the opportunity and the targets and the air yards and all that kind of stuff are without a doubt there. But there's just still something that's left remaining that needs to click. And they're in their second week of a new offensive playmaker in Travis Hunter and a brand new scheme there. All right. So we'll just relax with everything about the Bengals and the Jags. Cowboys and the Giants. So not much to take away from Dallas' side of things. This is kind of what we'd expect, in most games when they're not playing against the Eagles. 52 pass attempts from Dak. This was one of this was one of the sickest games ever in the NFL that I've watched. Like, crazy fourth quarter. 41 points scored in the fourth quarter. That field goal by Brandon Aubrey at the end of the game, and then the overtime winner. Like, crazy game. 52 pass attempts for Dak. Javonte Williams gets home again, 18 for 97 and a touchdown. The thing about Javonte is, like, when you go back and watch the game, he's doing exactly what they need him to do, right? He is just the guy that can handle 20 touches. He's the guy that will, like, not really fuck things up. The touchdown run he had, the 30-yard touchdown run he had was, like, it was, like, really cool, but it also looked like he was running in slow motion. And if I am saying that if I need to credit someone for the run, I'm giving it 49% to Javonte Williams and 51% to the just horrid tackling of the New York Giants defense. If you go on Twitter right now and just type in Javonte Williams touchdown, and you'll find the one from yesterday. Go rewatch that and be like, any defense with an ounce of fucking pride or self-respect is making that tackle at the line of scrimmage. He just like bounced out of, I don't know. It was like trying to put two fucking magnets together that just like hit each other. And you're like, that feels weird. Like, there's weird tension there that shouldn't be happening. Javonte Williams just bust out for that. So, like, again, right place, right time against these bad defenses like the Giants or wherever, where they're scoring a lot of points. He's going to be a rock solid RB2. If not, he'll probably finish the week because he caught 6 balls as, a top 10, if not top 5 option. And he's basically already returned value from where you drafted him in drafts. But I will say, I really would not blame anybody selling high on Javonte Williams if they had a really good offer come onto their trade. Like a Javonte Williams or BTJ, I don't know how ridiculous that is. That feels like I'm being a little bit, what's the word for it? I don't fucking know. We're going to move on, though. I've already said 8,000 words. CeeDee Lamb gets home. Jake Ferguson gets home. George Pickens gets home. It was all good on that side. Russell Wilson had a career fucking day, which is like the odds for him to throw over 400 yards in this game might have been 100 million to 1. 100 million to 1 for him to have the stat line that he did. 450 yards, 3 touchdowns, and Malik Neighbors comes home with a vintage Malik game. Like, 9 for 167, 2 touchdowns. I genuinely believe if we had like a solid offensive line and a consistent quarterback, this would probably be like the weekly stat line for Malik Neighbors. He is so fucking good. Wan'Dale Robinson, it's kind of funny. We've basically in back-to-back weeks seen the absolute floor and the absolute ceiling of the New York Giants in just a 2-week span. Scored nothing against Washington, scored 37 against Dallas. Dallas was without Deron Bland in this one. Oh, I also want to point out the center for the Dallas Cowboys is expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks. So another blow to their offensive line, which is another, talking point towards Javonte Williams. And yeah, just worth noting, obviously, I try to drop in as many injuries in these videos as possible so you guys are the most up to date. So Russ, big week. Malik Neighbors, big week. Wan'Dale Robinson, huge week. I mean, typically he's just a PPR scam out here, but he had a big game. He was ripping off 50 yards, 30 yards, 20 yarders. Like, career game for him. Do I expect this to continue? No, but he's clearly Russell Wilson's second favorite target here, so I think he can definitely be started in full PPR leagues. The biggest takeaway here is, without a doubt, the backfield. As you can see, it's kind of completely converted to Cam Scatterbo, who's now scored or got the goal line carries in back-to-back weeks. 11 for 45 on the ground, the touchdown. Tyrone Tracy, 5 for 15 on the ground, 4 for 36 through the air. Cam Scatterbo, we know, is a good pass catcher, though. If we look at how the snaps were divvied up, it's going to be in favor of Cam Scatterbo here, 51 to 42%. Most of the rushing attempts here tied for routes run. Inside the 5 is all going to Scatterbo. So there's clearly a split here, but by week 2, the fact that Scatterbo has kind of surpassed Tyrone Tracy and became the guy that they're trusting more. And when you watch him run, he just runs with a level of physicality that, like, no other player in the NFL really runs with. It's actually fucking startling. And it was all over his tape, obviously, in college, but it's cool to see it convert onto an NFL field. So Cam Scatterbo, if he's available on your wire in leagues going forward, I think you pretty much have to start him over. I don't want to start either of them. Let me be clear right now until we have more of this figured out and we, again, kind of like boil down the Giants offense to what we actually think it is, because it's probably better than week 1 and it's very, very 1,000% worse than what we just saw in week 2. So until we get it boiled down, until we see the snap share here, I don't really think Scatterbo or Tracy are playable. I would start Scatterbo over Tracy, but I'm not excited to do either of those actions. Moving on to the Lions and the Bears. And when the Lions went up big, I mean, they won 52-21. Huge bounce back for them. There was no doubt in my mind. Like, the Lions are known to do this. They're known to, like, when they have this narrative going of, like, beating up on division rivals or beating up on old coaches or whatever, like, they do not take their foot off the pedal. And there's a lot of talk about Ben Johnson coming into the week. Amon-Ra was like, we're going to fucking boo the shit out of him. And I don't blame him. You leave and go to your rival team over there, and everyone's saying, oh, they can't do anything. They can't win. They can't have an offense without Ben Johnson. And they showed that that was obviously not true. And this is another data point that just points towards the Green Bay Packers being just like another level ahead of everybody in their division and right up there at the top of the conference. So they just kept beating the drum here, and Goff walks away with 5 touchdowns. You had a big bounce back from Jameer Gibbs. Good game from Demont. Good game from the rest of the receivers down there. Sam Laporta, I believe, left the game for a little bit, so he had a down game, 3 for 26, but he did finish, so no worry in the injury department. Isaac Tesla, we need to see him get more work. Like, he's such a legit wide receiver 3. He literally, I think Prez tweeted out, he's like, who the hell is this Isaac Tesla guy? He literally makes the catch of the year every single week. He had another, like, unbelievable one-handed catch, but until we see him get, like, serious involvement, he only had a target in this game. There's nothing really to do with him there. On the flip side, we are, the summer's worst-kept secret was that Rome Odunze was going to be the actual breakout wide receiver 1 in Chicago. Was a very, very starch stance that we took, and it's kind of happening in front of our eyes. 7 for 128 and 2 touchdowns, coming at the detriment of DJ Moore, 5 for 46. He is kind of just transformed into a disappointing flex play at this point. Cole Kmet is playing more snaps than Colston Loveland, 10th overall pick. Luther Burden is falling very far behind Olamide Zaccheaus. This was all stuff that we knew throughout the preseason, and if you followed my videos throughout the summer, if you followed my videos talking about the preseason games and the snaps, this is one of the reasons why we make those videos, because they do tell us who's starting, who's playing, who's going to be running the most routes, and it's fun to talk about upside. And Luther Burden's the greatest wide receiver of all time, except for he's not getting any play time because Zaccheaus is playing over him, and something we knew. Obviously, rookies see typically a second half bump, but I don't know that I feel super confident, at least not with Loveland, because Cole Kmet is a legit NFL player, so not great there. Backfield, just way more DeAndre Swift. We did see 7 carries for Kyle Monangai. Roshan Johnson, I believe, was active for this game, but did not play at all, which was a little bit surprising. DeAndre Swift, he's kind of he's a tough one to really get a grasp on. I think he played a lot better yesterday than he did in week 1, and he was ripping off explosive plays, 12 for 63 on the ground. I saw a stat just on Twitter right before I got live on here that the EPA per rush for through 2 weeks for all the teams that have played 2 games, the running backs for Chicago have the worst EPA per rush, like dead last. I don't think it matters right now because I don't think Ben Johnson looks at Kyle Monangai or Roschon Johnson and thinks that they're a better option than DeAndre Swift. So I think we're going to continue to see more of the same from DeAndre Swift, and he'll probably have bigger games, but this is exactly what you hope for. Like, get him, 15 to 18 touches, give him the goal line carries. He'll make some explosive plays, and you have like a pretty solid RB2 on your hands. Rams and the Titans. Oh, man. One of my picks this week was the Titans to win this one straight up. And honestly, I thought it was going to happen up until the fourth quarter. It just kind of got away after the strip sack. But Rams win 33-19. Stafford, big game, about 302 through the air. Devontae Adams gets home. Puka always gets home. Nothing to take away there. I would say the biggest talking point you're going to hear throughout the entire week is Kyren Williams and Blake Corum's like snap share got a little bit closer, and Sean McVay came out after and was like, this is what we kind of imagine the role change or the way that we use our running back by committee being. I don't know that I'm like that feels like it's going to be a little bit of an overreaction throughout the entire week here. Like Kyren Williams got 17 carries, Blake Corum saw 5 carries here. Kyren Williams also saw 2 targets to 0 for Blake Corum. So, like, maybe the snap counts were a little bit closer. I know they were, but it's not something that I'm, like, overly concerned about because Kyren Williams is just so heavily involved in this offense. 69-31 is probably the closest they've ever been. And obviously it's the fact that Blake Corum, like, played pretty well, like 5 for 44. But, like, let's not go crazy about a 5 fucking carry sample size here. I'm not overly concerned about Kyren Williams here. We can keep it moving. Titans, Cam Ward looked good again. They obviously just couldn't get it done. Alec Ayumaner looks very, very legit. Tied with Calvin Ridley and Chigakonkwo for the team lead in targets with 6 of them, running every route. Cam Ward clearly trusts him. He's just not getting enough passing volume, honestly. 19 attempts he completed. I think last week was like 12. He only completed 12 passes or something. So, like, they've had a really tough run out. You know, they played Denver in week 1, the Los Angeles Rams in week 2. So that's going to be a very, very tough front 7 to face in both matchups, and they were without their first-round tackle, J.C. Latham, as well. So, like, I still think better days ahead. Cam Ward, like, looks extremely, extremely legit right now. Patriots at the Dolphins. This was my play of the week this week. If you tailed along, I make all my bets on BetMGM, and you can track them all on the Pickit app, Pikkit. All my bets go live on there. They automatically sync through my book, so very transparent. My play of the week was the over 43.5 in this game. They hit 60 points. You had 2 special teams touchdowns, but it didn't matter. They were crazy. All right, crazy game. The Miami Dolphins pass defense still atrocious. The Patriots, Drake May, good game. 230 and 2 through the air. 19 for 23 passing. Did get home on the ground as well. I would say the biggest takeaways here are it's still very much a running back by committee. And if you haven't listened to anything or like seen any recaps today, another storyline that you're going to hear a lot of, Travion Henderson had 3 holding calls in this game. 1 was on a kick return, but then he had 2 in pass blocking situations. That felt like it was going to be his calling card coming into the NFL. He's a dude that can catch passes, he's explosive, and his pass blocking is phenomenal, which is the opposite of what rookie running backs typically are, or what you typically see from rookie running backs. Travion Henderson, 2 holding calls is how you get your ass sat on the bench and how we get Antonio Gibson more on the field. And not great. He's not someone I'm giving up on by any means, but I do think right now with Travion Henderson, he's got a decent floor in PPR, but he's kind of in like a you probably have to bench him until you prove it mode right now. Ramondre Stevenson, 65% of the snaps again. I think up on the year, that's where he's sitting at. That's where he's been basically weekly. Travion Henderson saw a dip in snaps down to 29%. Antonio Gibson near the 20% mark. So he got less work here. He's still running a decent amount of routes, but again, like you basically need a big explosion play from Travion Henderson for him to return fantasy value right now. But again, it's just week 2 right now, so we're not bugging, we're not freaking out. But it's absolutely worth noting. You can't be racking up those penalties in a close game, otherwise Mike Vrabel gonna sit your ass. The wide receiver room is still a complete like up in the air. Everybody's running fucking 50% of the routes. Nobody's really producing right now. Keyshawn Butte got home, but he literally had 1 target, 1 catch, 16 yards. I still probably prefer him in the receiver room, but just not a high-volume passing offense passing offensive game for the Patriots here. On the other side, Tua had a bounce back, 315, 2 touchdowns. Tyreek, 6 for 109. Jalen Waddle, 5 for 68. I just don't see. I don't see how the Chiefs are not offering like significant resources to grab Tyreek Hill right now. If they have the cap room, I don't know what their cap situation looks like, but the way that the Chiefs look right now and the way that the Dolphins are playing, like Tua looks his numbers when you look at the box score actually look phenomenal. 26 for 32, 315 yards, 9.8 yards per attempt. Took 5 sacks. The interception that he threw at the end of the game was like, I don't know if there was a miscommunication, but that was one of the worst throws that I've seen. He's doing that more and more. That's becoming like a weekly thing for him where you get 1 or 2 throws from Tua where you're like, what the fuck did you just do? You know, like you're literally costing your team the game with mistakes that everyone makes mistakes, but like NFL players should not be making the mistake that you just made. So, yeah, this Miami defense, like the Patriots defense also was without Christian Gonzalez again. So this was a depleted pass defense that is not at full strength. And I think that's another reason why I like the over so much. Like I was very much counting on a bounce back from the Miami Dolphins, and we got it offensively. They're still not able to get anything going on the ground, which is fine because you draft Devon Achane for those fucking receiving numbers down here. 10 targets, 8 catches, 92 yards, and a touchdown. He also broke free on what would have been like a 40-yard touchdown catch where he stepped out by like 2 inches that he took to the house, but they reversed it, called it back. It was still like an 18-yard catch and run, but he was really, really close to going for like a $125 and 2 touchdowns on the ground. But this is exactly why you draft Devon Achane. It wasn't because we were expecting huge things on the ground. He is typically their first read on all those short throws, and that's like all Tua can fucking do right now. 49ers and the Saints. So we had Mac Jones make his first start, 280, 3 touchdowns through the air. So really good showing from him. C-Mac gets it done. Another 19 touches, goes over 100, and scores. Juwan Jennings played in this one. Wasn't even sure if he was going to play. Barely practiced this week. Then he goes and gets 10 targets, 5 for 89, scores a beautiful catch-and-run touchdown, 42 yards. I'm hyped that I got him in your idiot league. I mean, I'm honestly like just I can't really be hyped having Jamar Chase as my first-round pick anymore. It just feels like it kind of like mutes any excitement I actually had for the league for the remainder of the year, unfortunately. But if we were still at full strength, having Juwan Jennings on the bench would feel phenomenal right now because I loved what I saw. And when George Kittle is out, you know, he just typically eats there. Decent game from Ricky Pearsall, but the Saints, I mean, I don't really know what to say there. It's just so much garbage time all the time for the Saints and Spencer Rattler. So, you know, another 10 targets for Olave. He's actually 3rd in the NFL right now in targets. It's Malik Neighbors, CeeDee Lamb, and Chris Olave. So it's all just amounting to like these 7-yard passes in the fourth quarter. So I believe he had a drop in the end zone too, which could have been a touchdown. But yeah, I mean, this is I feel like pretty much what we're going to get on a week-to-week basis. Good to see Juwan Johnson though capitalize again, go back-to-back, not have like a complete fall-off game. After last week's big game, follows it up, 9 targets, 5 catches, 49 yards, and a touchdown. He feels like a legit every week top 12 fantasy option here because the targets are just so condensed between the 2 receivers and the tight end. Bills, Jets. Yep, at least people didn't overreact to the Jets offense in week 1, right? At least people didn't do that. Justin Fields, arguably the worst day of all time for a quarterback. He played the majority of this game. Went 3 for 11, 27 yards through the air, 2.5 yards per attempt. This was always the reason that it would be scary to draft Jets players because when he plays like this is what happens. You get 4 points from Breece Hall. You get 8 points from Garrett Wilson. You're still going to get that incredibly high target share, 8 targets for Garrett Wilson. That shouldn't surprise anyone. But these are the types of games that we're going to get from the Jets when they play good teams. And it's going to happen 4 more times throughout the year, 5 more times throughout the year. So it's the reason we avoided the Jets this offseason. Fields did suffer a concussion in this one. Players are typically 50-50 to return the following week from a concussion. I will say I think there's a possibility that even if Fields clears, they might still roll Tyrod Taylor out there. I think the question becomes, you know, if Fields does not practice at all in this new scheme for him and just the way they came off the game, is it actually more advantageous for your team to have him start the game if Tyrod Taylor is taking all the starter practice snaps throughout the week? I just think there's I think if you're a Justin Fields owner in a one quarterback or a super flex league, I'm not saying that if he clears, Tyrod's going to take his job, but I do think it would be wise to have a contingency plan for that reason. For the Bills, Josh Allen honestly didn't have to do much because James Cook basically just took hold of this game. Nothing else more to really make of this one. Josh Allen completed 14 passes. I was a little bit skeptical about Keon Coleman's week 1 going into week 2 because he'd have to play Sauce Gardner, and it was just a tougher matchup. And that concern kind of came true here. Khalil Shakir, a really disappointing game. And it's another team where when you look at the snaps here, it's just very, very divvied up. Keon ran a bunch of routes in week 1, but in games where they're, dominating and running up the script, which I know it seems like they might not be doing that often after week 1, where it's like Bills and Ravens are just, it's fireworks everywhere. That wasn't the case in week 2. They just beat the fuck out of the New York Jets. And when they beat up teams by 2-3 scores, like there's a really good chance that this is how the game kind of runs it runs itself out. Keon 63, Josh Palmer 66, Elijah Moore 41%, Khalil Shakir 56, Tyrell Shavers, the Shavinator getting in there for fucking 31% of the snaps. We're hitting water hour. We're hitting witching hour right now. Who texted me? The group chat's going crazy. Please turn the mic up a little bit. Oh, can y'all not hear me? Uh-oh. That'd be devastating to hear that fucking... Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me? To this day... I don't want to blow it out, so we'll just continue going this way. Let me know in the chat if you guys can hear me. I just got a text from Gut, which was like 25 minutes ago, so I'm hoping that I should not be turn up volume. Fuck. Did I fuck this up? Can y'all hear me? We hear you. You're just a bit quiet. All right, this is better. Cool. Sorry about that. Apologize. All right, let's move on to fucking the Seahawks versus thy Steelers. Is it kind of quiet or is it just me? Cool. I can hear you fine, bro. Wonderful. So Seahawks and the Pittsburgh Steelers. It seems like the reports of Kenneth Walker's demise were overly exaggerated. Okay, so 31-17. Here's what I'll say about the backfield, and something I learned after I did the stream last Monday. Start over. Fuck you. I would die if I had to do that. So basically the way that week 1 rolled out and why there was so much concern about the snap counts was that the two running backs in Seattle were splitting drives. So it'd be like Kenneth Walker drive 1, Zach Charbonnet drive 2, and back and forth. And the reason Charbonnet outsnapped him was just because the drives that he happened to be on were the ones that had more snaps. And I believe that happened again in this one. Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet legit looked like one of the WOT running backs in this one, which is kind of concerning that they just kept feeding him, though, and they kept him in on those drives. So when we look at the Seahawks backfield, their splits are going to be very, very similar still, even in week 2. Like, okay, Zach Charbonnet, 55% of the snaps in week 2. Kenneth Walker still down at 36. Now, there's no one that isn't blind that couldn't see that Kenneth Walker is infinitely more talented than a guy like Zach Charbonnet. I still think they like the idea of like imposing their will. I think there's a very real chance that this Steelers defense is kind of shit. They have Joey Porter Jr. Banged up and didn't play in this one. You had Deshaun Elliott, their safety, didn't play in this one. Derek Harmon, their first-round pick, is on the IR and is not playing right now. The Steelers' defense, both through the run and the pass, is just not good. Jalen Ramsey looks fucking lit, though. That dude's making unbelievable plays on a weekly basis. But for the running back group, like, Kenneth Walker has the explosion that Zach Charbonnet obviously does not have. He scored on, I think it was like 3rd and 19 or something like that. It was 3rd and goal from the 19, and I saw a stat somewhere that there had never been, there's like some commotion going on outside my door right now. I'm about to go kick someone in the roundhouse, kick a motherfucker in the head and put him in an ankle lock. I think it was the first time ever that a team it was either 3rd or 4th and 19 and goal, if that makes sense, and they scored a touchdown on it. I don't know. I'm not lying. Like there was a stat that I had, but I just can't think of it now. I just sound like a fucking dumbass. JSN goated. Like I said last week, he is basically just, I can't say the modern day because Amon-Ra is still playing, but he's just the next coming of Amon-Ra St. Brown, where you are just peppering him over the middle of the field with targets every single time, and he is just the guy. Cooper Kupp, yeah, whatever. I'm not buying in on that bullshit. But sorry, for the running back group, if I'm going to like summarize what's going on going forward, it's Walker over Charbonnet, obviously, in terms of playing time. I still think, like, I'd like to say Kenneth looks so much better than Charbonnet that, he's going to earn a ton more playing time and a ton more snaps and a ton more carries than Charbonnet is going forward. I don't know that I feel super confident in that being the case, though. Do I think Walker will play more than Charbonnet going forward? Yes. But again, hesitant. He's just so much more talented, more likely to score a touchdown, most likely. But we also didn't see a carry inside the 5-yard line to really dictate, to make sure that it was Walker's job when they're inside there. We didn't get any this week, but we did get 3 in week 1 where I think they all went to Charbonnet. On the flip side, Aaron Rodgers didn't play very well in this one. Looked a little bit better on tape than the box score actually says. 203, touchdown, 2 interceptions. Jaylen Warren was phenomenal in this one. He is like one of the better draft picks in fantasy right now if you got him as like a 0 RB candidate. Because one, like it was obviously only a matter of time before they faced Kenneth Gainwell out. You give him carries in week 1 and you see how non-effective he is when you're like letting him run up the middle. But the fact that I don't know if Caleb Johnson's going to see the fucking field ever again. He had the fumble on the kick return, not even the fumble, but like it fell into the catch zone. And then it, like, once it's in there, it's fair play. And he just like ran off the field thinking that it was like an automatic fair catch down at the 20, 30, whatever. And Seattle just recovered it like it was an onside kick, but in the end zone for a touchdown. Huge mistake for him. Also, like, that's got to be on the Steelers coaching staff. Like, how does he not know that? Are we not going over this? Why do you have a rookie on kick return? Like, use him in the backfield as a fucking runner or don't use him at all. And clearly they're not going to use him as a runner. So this is basically all Jaylen Warren's backfield going forward. From the receiver room, not surprising. DK kind of had a tough week. That's a tough Seattle defense to play against, even though they were without Devon Witherspoon. So you did think he was going to take a little bit more advantage of it. He kind of mossed someone for a touchdown on like a kind of a lob pass from Rodgers. But besides that, I mean, I don't know. Not a great showing there, but the Seahawks seem like a pretty good team. Ravens, Browns, we have the beatdown here. The Ravens win 41-17. Lamar's awesome. Derrick Henry just had a bad game. There's not much to say there. You're starting him every single week. Zay Flowers continues to be awesome, 7 for 75. DeAndre Hopkins, like, it's so tough to really pinpoint anything behind Zay Flowers in this passing offense because if you look at the target numbers, like D-Hop had 2 targets. He continues to make big fucking plays. He got tackled at the 1-yard line, so he could have really easily had 2 touchdowns here. Tez Walker, 2 touchdowns on 2 targets. Tylan Wallace, a touchdown on 2 targets. So it doesn't feel like there's anything real here. With DeAndre Hopkins, I want to buy in and I want to believe that he's like at least 70% of his old self and now he's attached to a good offense. But like, fellas, 21% of the routes here. Zay Flowers every down. Rashad Bateman, 76. Tylan Wallace, 48. DeAndre Hopkins, 21% of the routes. And that's deflated. That's dehydrated a little bit because they got so far out ahead, and it's like you're not going to play DeAndre Hopkins late into the fourth quarter for no fucking reason. But, there you have it. Like, you can't play a dude in your fantasy lineup that is literally running 21% of the routes. But I'll keep doing that for Mark fucking Andrews. Fucking bot. Yeah, Andrews is a sore sight right now. I rolled him out in one of my starting lineups. This week. And again, he just let us down. He's there. He had an end zone drop that was like literally in his hands for like 3 seconds, and then he got it knocked out. They also had multiple play action rollout plays that were designed for him. If you watch that game when they're down by the end zone, just didn't convert there. So like the touchdowns are gonna come. The problem is Lamar's just too fucking good. He just keeps connecting on 20, 30, 40-yard touchdown throws that like not stall out the drives. They just end the drive. They're drive enders. They're just touchdowns. And then it's like Mark Andrews can't do any work over the middle of the field. So I will definitely be looking elsewhere if I find better options at running back. For the Browns, I mean, Joe Flacco throws for 199 yards on 45 pass attempts. That's the kind of passing volume we're going to get, though. And it does allow guys like Fannin to like be okay, 5 for 48. Like if you started him after picking him up last week, you're fine with the 10 points in PPR. The backfield is a little bit of a fucking mess, and one that we do obviously have to talk about here. We've got Judkins playing in his first active game. Jerome Ford, Dylan Sampson, of course. Now, hard to get like a real read again. When you have these blowout games of 41-17, it's like the entire second half is kind of like fake snap counts and fake route numbers and all this kind of stuff. And it's just like we're playing against the secondary, we're playing against the backup second stringers and all that kind of stuff. So a little bit tough to get a real feel for what the running back split is going to look like. I think it's very obvious, though, that like Quinshon Judkins is going to be the guy sooner rather than later. He had the most carries in this game, but Jerome Ford outsnapped everybody in the backfield, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he had 49% of the snaps. Judkins 25, Dylan Sampson 25. Judkins with 48% of the rush attempts. Now, if you're looking at how the passing down numbers split up, unfortunately, it did not go in the way of Sampson. And honestly, it's probably on us, like me as a creator and people in the fantasy industry. These numbers are honestly not that different than what they were last week between Ford and Sampson in the long down and distance, in the 2-minute snaps. It just so happened that every time Sampson ran a route, he got a target. But he was not running more routes than Jerome Ford was. He just happened to be the guy that got the targets here. So they still trust Ford for the time being, though that's going to parlay its way into being Quinshon Judkins' early down role. The problem is, like, we have a committee here. How often are they going to be inside the 5-yard line? Didn't happen in this one. How many rushing touchdowns are they going to have? Judkins, is he really ever going to play any of the passing down snaps? Like, didn't play any long-distance snaps, is not playing in the 2-minute drill. He ran 16% of the routes. Now, his role will increase as he gets into better shape probably, and he'll be the early down runner. But again, you just got to ask yourself, like, do I want the early down runner on a team that's, projected to win 4 or 5 games this year? So, yeah, I mean, he's obviously someone you want to stash. And honestly, I'd be encouraged by this performance. Like, if I had him and I was waiting on him, like, this was best case scenario. He is on the field by week 2 after all the bullshit throughout the summer. On the field week 2, getting 10 carries, averaging over 6 yards per carry, had a really nice run of like 31 yards or whatever, a long run there. So, like, I'm definitely optimistic about it, but I think from an objective view, it's hard to get like overly hype on Judkins. Colts and the Broncos. Man, what a fucking game this was. The Colts, Daniel Jones, man. Daniel fucking Jones looks good. This offense is just a nightmare. Like, they don't, outside, like Jonathan Taylor, All-American. Outside of that, Tyler Warren's a beast too. You can't, like, the problem is they have every one of the players that they put on offense that's a skill position player is an above average player. So one player on defense is going to lose their matchup on that specific pass play, right? Warren, Downs, you saw Pierce connect on a beautiful deep ball. Michael Pittman, Adonai Mitchell got involved in this one. Like, all those guys are good route runners and good possession receivers that, like, you can't cover all of them every single play. It's just hard. And when you do, then Tyler Warren gets open and leads his team in receiving in this one. 7 targets, 4 catches, 79 yards. As we said last week, Tyler Warren's a set it, forget it, every week starter in this Colts offense going forward. Thought this was going to be a bigger test for the Colts offense. Daniel Jones fucking wiped his nose with the Broncos secondary. Surtain left for a minute, but he came back in and finished the game. I should note in the Baltimore game as well, Jair Alexander was a scratch in that game, and I believe Marlon Humphrey got banged up. I don't know the severity of that injury, but there's a possibility that the Ravens are down pretty bad in their secondary. So keep an eye on practice reports. And obviously, when we do the running back rankings and the wide receiver rankings videos on Wednesday and Thursday, we'll jump into the practice reports so that we have a better idea for which secondaries are missing players. But Daniel Jones playing fucking out of his mind, playing awesome, scoring rushing touchdowns, getting it done through the air, like really, really good. He's a legit streaming option every single week at quarterback. Jonathan Taylor's a beast. Warren's a beast. I will say for the receivers, very, very messy situation, extremely difficult to decipher. The way I look at strictly Josh Downs and Michael Pittman, good to see Josh Downs back out here, I will say, because he only ran 50% of the routes in week 1, but he led the team in targets in week 2 with 8 of them. And I want to see the route percentage here. So Downs up to 61%, still only running in 3 wide receiver sets, unfortunately. Alec Pierce, 90, Michael Pittman, 85 there. But this is what Josh Downs does. Like, when he's running routes, he's commanding a 35% target per route run rate. And the way I guess I look at that receiver group is, like, in a bad matchup like this one, they're going to be in that shaky flex tier for me, where I hope I have better options. In good matchups, I'm probably looking at both of them on that bordering of like dub flex, shaky flex tier. So they get a little bit of an upgrade, but just the fact that we don't really know how these two are going to shake out on a week-to-week basis in terms of targets, splits, etc. A little bit hard to trust them, even though Daniel Jones is playing so well. But like, you see the splits here. He throws for 315, but it's like 79, 68, 51, 50, 40, 20. It's really being spread around. We got the Broncos on the other side. Bo Nix, a nice bounce back here, 206 and 3 through the air. it's still completely J.K. Dobbins' backfield for the time being, 14 for 76 and a touchdown. R.J. Harvey and Tyler Bidet are still splitting snaps back there. Harvey's kind of in that like Travion Henderson mold right now, and probably even to a lesser degree or a worse degree. He's a guy that you have to hold on to. You keep on your bench, but you really can't start until you see an actual change in the snap counts, a change in the opportunity share, a change in like the offensive philosophy where they're using R.J. Harvey over J.K. Dobbins, and does not look like it's happening anytime soon. In the receiving game, so the one thing I will say is there was a lot of tweets about Courtland Sutton yesterday. I went back and rewatched this game in its entirety. Sutton, yes, he did get kind of phased out of the offense, but he had multiple end zone targets thrown his way. He had a couple DPI calls on him as well. So it's just one of those games where like the luck did not break right in his favor. It's his worst game in quite a long time. But it's very, very clear that they need a second passing option behind Courtland Sutton that can run legitimate routes and can be an actual playmaker in this offense, because Marvin Mims ain't it. Evan Ingram's been extremely disappointing through 2 weeks. He was supposed to be like a high-volume guy. It doesn't feel like he's going to be the guy, which led to Troy Franklin having a massive game. So 9 targets, 8 catches, 89 yards, a touchdown. Here's what I'll say for Troy Franklin. Like, obviously, they have that built-in chemistry, him and Bo Nix from Oregon. With Troy Franklin, he had 8 catches. 4 of them came on screenplays. And then the 42-yard catch was beautiful catch by him. He got open down the sideline it was like a broken defensive play. So it was like Bo Nix scrambled to the left side, and the cornerback that was on Troy Franklin didn't know whether or not to cover Troy Franklin or watch for Bo Nix rushing. So he came up to come like tackle Bo Nix, leaving Troy Franklin wide open down the field. So it's like Franklin, big game, love to see it. Like I said, there's going to be a ton of opportunity for some wide receiver too to show themselves in this offense, and it's obviously pointing towards Troy Franklin right now. But I will say, like, I'm not ready, because we've seen these games from Marvin Mims, right? We've seen the game where, like, okay, broken deep pass leads to big production. A few screen plays lead to big production. That's what it felt like watching Troy Franklin. He's a much better all-around receiver than Marvin Mims. I didn't like Marvin Mims coming out as a prospect. Wasn't super high on Franklin, but I liked him much more as a route runner. So I think there's more stickiness to Franklin than Marvin Mims. And the one thing I will say for Troy Franklin was his involvement as a route runner was really high. He ran more snaps than Courtland Sutton did in this one. 88% of the routes here. Courtland Sutton, 81% of the routes. So, I mean, that connection that him and Bo Nix had in college is, kind of coming back to fruition here. Here's what I'll say. Like, even with that 45-yard catch, his average depth of target was 7 yards. That's really, really low. So a lot of screen plays, which doesn't mean a bad thing, because that's, part of Sean Payton's offense. Like, Marvin Mims got a lot of those. And if like 3 of those transfer over to Troy Franklin, you're going to have a nice floor as a PPR player. So when I'm looking at the waiver wire this week, there's like nothing on the waiver wire. The way I'm looking at it is basically like anyone left over from last week and then Troy Franklin. Like, that's kind of how I'm looking at the waiver wire this week. Like, if Bashal Tutin is still on the wire, or like Alec Imaner is still on the wire for whatever reason, like if any of those guys are still on the wire, it's like them plus Troy Franklin was kind of added into the mix this week. What else do we got here? Cardinals and Panthers. This was another one that I watched back in its entirety. So Bryce Young, I mean, statistically, he ended up having a good game. 55 pass attempts, 328 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. I did not fact check, but I would imagine that's a career high for him. Tet McMillan is so good, dude. Tet McMillan is such a player. That's going to be a smash home run pick for the Carolina Panthers. I was going back and watching the game, and like, not only is he like just catching everything thrown his way, there was a play on the left sideline. If you follow, actually, we could just fucking pull it up. Fuck it, we ball. Look at this fucking play, dude. I'm going to be in the way. Ah! All right, whatever. You don't need me for right now. So, Tet's on the top of the screen here. And Bryce Young's only looking at him, as he's going to continue doing, because all the other receivers in his offense suck. He catches that. The cornerback fucking doing the seatbelt motion like a dickhead. I don't have the slow-mo replay, but, like, watch this again. Like, you could see where the ball is in the one hand right there. Like, the coverage is tight, but look how Tet goes up and catches this ball. Like, look at the fucking high point on this. He brings it down one hand somehow. Obviously out of bounds, so it doesn't count. But, like, those are the things that if you're watching these like recap videos from people who don't actually like watch the game and they just look at the box score, you're not going to see, and you're not going to realize just how fucking good Tet McMillan is and how much of a legit number one receiver he is, because Xavier Legette is horrendous. He's really, really bad. And if Jalen Coker is sitting out there on your waiver wire right now and you can pick him up and throw him in your IR, absolutely do that. Because when he's back on the field, he's going to be a relatively highly targeted player. Hunter Renfrow, 2 touchdowns in this one. I didn't even realize that, to be honest. Jalen Sanders got a lot of targets here, but 55 pass attempts, 55 bird, 55 pass attempts, 55 lock in. Chuba gets home with another touchdown reception here. They couldn't really get anything going on the ground. It's like the game script just goes sideways so quickly. They started off the game with a defensive touchdown for the Cardinals, and that just like makes everything just get funky right away. And I will say another thing from going back and looking at the tape, it's easy to make fun of Bryce Young. Yeah, I am cautiously optimistic about the way he's playing. Like when they give him more than like half a second in the pocket, he actually looks really good. I think he looks way better than the highlights on Red Zone show. He's making good throws. He's stepping up in the pocket, but there's so many times that his offensive line are just collapsing around him, and then those end up. Well, he needs to take care of the ball better, because it feels like every time he gets sacked, it turns into a strip sack, and it turns into like a defensive touchdown. So that's one thing, but what he looks like on film is way better than a lot of the numbers or the highlights that are being shown. What I will say, some major injuries to the Carolina offensive line. I don't know the severity of them yet, but both Robert Hunt and Austin Corbett, 2 of their starting offensive linemen, went down in this game. I believe Corbett's a knee injury, if I remember correctly, and Robert Hunt, who was like one of their studs on the offensive line, a bicep injury, and they just got Icky back on the line, so kind of devastating to the O-line, but those are 2 major injuries to keep an eye on. On the flip side, Kyler's whatever he was, Kyler. James Conner got in for a touchdown. Him and Trey Benson are like really clearly splitting roles right now, where Trey Benson is operating as the third down back. But I still think they want to run their offense through James Conner, and he's getting enough involved in like the receiving game that I'm not overly concerned about him whatsoever. And again, like I think it could have been a bigger day if we don't start the game out with like a defensive score, and it just like eliminates the number of plays that you're going to run overall. Like if you look at the play count, it's 55 pass attempts for the Panthers, 19 rush attempts. So we're looking at 74 plays overall compared to 47 plays for Arizona. So if they're in the 60 to 70 range, similar to their opponent, you're looking at another 20 touches for James Conner. So don't overly concern yourself with that. Marvin Harrison Jr., he's another one. Like I tweeted out a little while ago, Marvin Harrison Jr. to me, when I watched that game back, feels a lot like what George Pickens felt like last year. If you watched the Steelers and George Pickens, they're a team that doesn't really want to throw the ball that much. He's a really good player that's simply just like not going to get the opportunity that we want him to get. And in this one, he saw end zone targets. He had a DPI called on the 1 yard line. So there's a deep ball shot to him that the defender just like wrapped him up on the 1 yard line, which is like cool if you're a Cardinals fan, but extremely frustrating if you're a Marvin Harrison Jr. owner, because at the end of the day, he gets 5 targets in this one, right? Like that's what George Pickens was last year. It was between 5 and 8 targets. You have very limited amount of opportunities to like make your dough. And if there's a DPI on a long play, or like if you don't connect on the end zone target, you're going to be underwhelming for that day. So like the good games are going to come because he's a good player. But just like George Pickens, like there's a chance that if the 1 or 2 things don't break, the 1 or 2 valuable opportunities that you have per game don't break in your direction, you're going to have an underwhelming game. So Marvin Harrison Jr. to me, like good game in week 1, bad game in week 2. Like this is how his season's probably going to go. It's probably going to be up and down, up and down. So when I'm looking at him, he's like, he's kind of just a boomer bust wide receiver 3 when you're getting 5 targets, 6 targets, 7 targets per game. Eagles and the Chiefs. This was literally just a battle of like guys that don't want to throw the ball more than 4 yards down the field. This was a tough watch here. Jalen Hurts, 101 passing yards, riding Saquon Barkley, of course. Another really disappointing game for the receivers here. No Dallas Goedert. We really liked Devontae Smith, and oh wow, I didn't even realize Devontae Smith missed his prop. I had him at 4.5 receptions, 4 catches, 53 yards. He did bang up his back a little bit, but ended up coming back into the game. But man, this looks like the antidote for the Eagles. Who would have known? Who would have known that it worked literally every single game for them last year, and they're just like, maybe we should do it again. Passing offense doesn't look good, but you're beating the Chiefs. You're beating all the teams that you're playing by giving Saquon Barkley 25 touches per game. Again, exactly what they did last year. Are better days ahead? Like, probably, because A.J. Brown's simply just too good of a player. But yeah, I think it's likely time to downgrade the passing offense going forward. Like, it sucks because you're never going to sit A.J. Brown, because you don't want to miss the weeks where he goes 6 for 120 and a touchdown. But yeah, it just kind of sucks. We're just probably looking at a little bit of a draft miss there is really what we're looking at. On the flip side, Mahomes is like he's so fucking resourceful as a quarterback. Like, this is one of the reasons that like people just continue to label Mahomes as, the top G in the NFL. Although, the gap is closing every single time Lamar Jackson fucking steps onto the field. Mahomes is just so resourceful, man. Like, when they cannot figure out how to get any receiver open, like, it's insane that Juju Smith-Schuster and Tyquan Thornton were like let go. The Patriots wanted nothing to do with them. The Patriots, who have had the worst receiving core in the league for like the last half of a decade, wanted nothing to do with Tyquan Thornton and Juju Smith-Schuster, and they are like the most pivotal pieces in this Kansas City Chiefs passing offense. That tells you how bad this passing offense is. Rashee Rice is getting 1 billion targets when he comes back. 1 billion. That's not understated. 1 billion. He's going to lead the NFL in targets from the moment he steps onto the field to the end of the year. Xavier Worthy, multiple limited practices last week, like shocking after initial reports. I think there's a real chance Worthy gets back onto the field next week. His re-injury risk is going to be high, but he's probably going to get a lot of targets. Hollywood Brown, very disappointing. 5 targets, 30 yards on 5 catches. That was kind of always a concern when you're playing against the Philadelphia Eagles defense. They're really fucking good. Same thing with the ground game, man. Mahomes is just seeing none of his receivers get open for shit, so he feels like he's got to take off. And this is something that we talked about on the betting channel previewing this week. One of Guts' favorite props was the over for Mahomes' rushing. I think it was at like 23.5 or 26.5 or something like that. Every time they are down without their top wide receivers, Mahomes just takes it upon himself to become a fucking demon on the ground. And he was like, yeah, he's like, people don't take me seriously because I run funny, but like, he's fast. He's fast, man. He waddles down the field. He's good. So we're going to keep hammering the rushing prop here for Mahomes on a weekly. Hopefully we get Xavier Worthy back next week. Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco are just splitting snaps still. Neither of them look particularly good at all. I don't see a world where you can roll out either of them in your fantasy lineups unless you are like begging to get 3 points, but that's just not great. Not great for the program. We have the Falcons and we have the Vikings Sunday Night Football. And let's just start off by saying that the Super Bowl runs through Atlanta. Like, let's just have a serious moment with ourselves here. We have a pass rush. Did y'all watch the game last night? We sacked the quarterback 6 times. That's the most sacks that we've had in a game probably since the fucking 20th century. I was so proud of us, man. James Pierce got involved. Jalen Walker got involved. Our rookies, our first-round picks hit. What the hell? This is a new Atlanta. Super Bowl legit runs through us. Everything I said about the Packers, more for Atlanta. More. We didn't really have to do anything. And please, just for the love of God, don't go out spending a lot of fab dollars on Tyler Algier. We just can't do it after every average player just has a good game. Michael Penix didn't have to do anything because Bijan was a fucking superhero in this one. We obviously ran the ball 39 times to 21 pass attempts. The Vikings, so they're pretty banged up on defense. They were without, I believe, Blake Cashman and Andrew Van Ginkel in this game, which are 2 very big pieces for them on the defensive side of the ball. They are still without Christian Darrisaw on the left tackle position, and I believe his backup got hurt in this one too, which could explain why JJ faced so much pressure. 3 fumbles in this one for JJ, 2 interceptions. Obviously, he has to hold on to the ball much better. The game is still obviously moving very quickly for him. I still think his arm looks live. I'm not overly concerned about JJ McCarthy here. I just think Atlanta fucking showed up to play, man. Shout out our fucking kicker too. 5 for 5 in field goals. I don't know if any of you guys saw the post-game interview. Parker Romo is his name. Had no fucking idea. The post-game interview, he was a player of the game, as was Leonard Floyd. And the announcer was like, it was Bijan, Parker Romo, and Leonard Floyd like being interviewed after the game. And the interviewer was like, Parker, you came in 5 for 5, like great day. He's like, you just got here, like, do you know your teammates? And he was like, I know Bijan. And the interviewer literally introduced him and Leonard Floyd for the first time. Like that was the first time he met his fucking teammate, which was pretty funny. So shout out him. We literally would be 2-0 if Young Wei Koo didn't. I'm literally gonna start a world war. Just be on edge right now. We're starting a war, Young Wei Koo, with you. You and your fucking country for missing our goddamn field goal. It's Parker Romo till it's backwards, baby. Also, dude, Xavier Watts and Billy Bowman Jr., 2 of our rookies in the defensive backfield, they are ball hawks. Xavier Watts could have had 2 interceptions in week 1, too. He legit could have had, he could be leading the NFL in interceptions. I am fucking psyched for those 2. They are ball hawks. To this day, on the flip side, we had Darnell Mooney played in this one, which is good to see him back. Kyle Pitts, 4 for 37, sick. Drake London, disappointing. But again, we just didn't have to do much through the air, unfortunately. So in the backfield here, Jordan Mason is shaping up to be a really, really strong draft pick because Aaron Jones suffered what is apparently a hamstring strain. Don't know the severity of it, but those can very, very easily end up being 2, 3, 4 week injuries. And this backfield is just those 2. It is just Jordan Mason. It is just Aaron Jones. And while they're not putting up spectacular numbers when presented together, or separately, if Aaron Jones misses time and it's like Jordan Mason and they like activate some guy from the practice squad, Mason's probably going to get 90% of the touches, and that's going to end up being 18 touches per game in an offense that I still think is above average. Like, he's going to be a rock-solid running back, too, if Aaron Jones misses time here. So we'll have to, again, keep an eye on that, and I will go over that in the running back video when we go over the individual team practice reports on a game-by-game basis, all right? So if you, again, are new here or you're just not subscribed yet, you kind of just float in here for whatever reason, subscribe to the channel because we'll be going game-by-game through the wide receivers, through the running backs on Wednesday and Thursday to help you decide who to sit, who to start, all that good shit. I believe that was all the games. We got 2 Monday Night Football games tonight. We got the Bucks and the Texans, and we got the Chargers and the Raiders. Yep. We got that. I think my favorite play of the night is just an anytime touchdown for Omarion Hampton. Obviously, if you're a Bowers owner, you're going to want to see if Michael Mayer is available on the wire to pick up because I don't know that I have a ton of confidence that Bowers is going to play tonight, but maybe he does suit up. If Bowers is active, you're playing him. It's just how fantasy football works, all right? If he's going to get on the field, you have to play Bowers. If not, Michael Mayer is a good fill-in. I would say Cade Otton, Dalton Schultz is not bad because Cade Stover is also hurt. Would probably stay away from the Chargers tight end. I'm sure that's going to fucking age great when Will Disley has 2 touchdowns tonight. Yeah, I think that's all. We have fucking 2,500 people in here. Shout out double me right now in the corner and in the fucking straightaway. How he down? Cam Scatterbo looking like fucking Mike Allsett. That is fair. Yeah. Looking thick. Looking thick and rowdy. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna end the stream here. We got through this a lot easier than last time. My throat didn't fucking set on fire, which is cool. Tomorrow, as always, we will have our waiver wire video first thing in the morning. But like I said, I don't expect it to be much more than everyone from last week who wasn't picked up, plus like fucking Troy Franklin or something like that. Yeah, so subscribe if you want that. You can get all my weekly rankings as I always put them out on bdge.co if you're a Big Dog member. $10 a month, real cheap. Oh, actually, I didn't even announce it. We have a promo going with BetMGM right now. You can get my weekly rankings. You can get access to the Big Dog membership basically for free for pretty much the remainder of the season. For as long as Joe Burrow is out, a minimum of 3 months. Let's put it that way. So if you go to BetMGM right now and you deposit and play a single slip with code BDGE, deposit $10, play a slip, play something tonight, whatever I just said, Omarion Hampton's anytime touchdown, $10, deposit, play, using code BDGE when you sign up, you're going to get a promo code that will get you 3 months free of the Big Dog membership, all right? That'll get you rankings, sit start rankings for the remainder of the season. That will get you waiver wire rankings for the next 3 months. Sorry, I shouldn't say the remainder of the season. It is for 3 months, so whenever that ends up wrapping up. And access to the Q and Assault. So the private Q&A sit start live stream before Sunday kickoffs, all right? So if you have not yet signed up MGM, you could do that. If you're already a member, if you're already a Big Dog member on the website, you could still get this promo, even if you've already paid, because there is a part on the account page. Like if you go get the promo code from BetMGM, basically you will get a slip, or you will put a slip down. They'll message you on the app and say, hey, here's your promo code to use on bdg.co. If you're already a member, go to bdg.co. In the My Account page, there'll be a little slip that says, put your MGM promo into it. And that will unlock the next 3 months free for you guys, all right? All right, cool. Love you. I'm out. Smoochies.